Merry Christmas, viewers. This is Sparkster1701, and I want to give a good shout out to all my viewers and fans out there. I wish you all a very happy holiday. I hope you're able to spend the time with at least somebody that you do love. Now think back to the 1980s, back when many of us were children, especially if you were old enough to remember the 80s. And remember the thrill we would find on Christmas morning to find that our parents, or grandparents, or caretakers, or even Santa had left us a giant transformer under the Christmas tree. Well, I'm hoping to invoke some of those feelings out of all of you today with today's review, the Earthrise form of Scorponok. As you can see here, Scorponok is standing somewhat taller than my normal backdrop. He is a big boy. Scorponok is, of course, the Titan class toy for the Earthrise line, and it's likely he will be the last Titan class toy released. That's at least going by rumors that many of us in the Transformer community have been following. At this point, all 5 of the Generation 1 Titan figures, or at least the large city-styled figures, have been released. The Generations line from several years ago brought us the Metroplex, that was the largest Transformer of its type. Then in the Titans Return line, we did get both Fortress Maximus and Trypticon. Last year for Siege, we got Omega Supreme, and then now for Earthrise, we've gotten Scorponok. That covers all that were released in America and most of Europe from the Generation 1 line. Now, the Japanese line had a few others, but they were basically repaints of many of the other toys, as they did have a repaint of Metroplex that became Metro Titan. Fortress Maximus was released as both Grand Maximus and Brave Maximus. And Scorponok here, he was called Zarak in the Japanese continuity, and there was a Black Zarak also released. Now, of course, they couldn't redo Omega Supreme due to the fact that Omega Supreme was not a Takara toy at the time of his release. And Trypticon did get a re-release, but he wasn't redone until the Beast Machines line, and he was called Gigastorm, if I remember correctly. But at any rate, this is a nice and very massive toy, and yes, you can find him at stores. I personally bought this toy here this summer. I was able to find him at a Target store, but it was at a Target store that was dedicating more space in it for the toy department, so you would need to find a larger sized big box store that would be carrying more toys in order to find one at the store itself. And the one I had to go to was about, roughly 25 miles from my home. So, wasn't exactly thrilled with having to make that kind of a drive, but I was checking every Target I could for Transformers, and lo and behold, that was the only one they had that I needed for Earthrise. So I certainly didn't complain. I saved on the shipping costs by carrying him out of the store myself. Now, let's compare him in size to his Generation 1 counterpart over here. Turn the camera a little bit here so you can see it. Getting a little sunlight in here, folks, but that's so that there's not too many shadows on Scorponok here. So as you can see, there is a substantial size difference between the two Scorponoks. So, quite a difference. I knew there was going to be one, I just didn't realize it until today when I had both toys out side by side with each other. Let me adjust the blinds a little bit here. Ah, that's better. Reduce a little bit of the glare. Now, one thing you'll definitely notice is that the Generation 1 Scorponok has a gun, whereas the Earthrise version does not include a rifle. Which, that's probably something that many of us will debate about as to whether or not we'll truly miss that. Because, believe it or not, this big boy here does have a fair amount of play features inside him as is. And we're going to take a look at those here in just a moment. And of course, first, one of the things I do want to point out is that while G1 Scorponok included Fast Track here as a bonus figure, Earthrise Scorponok does not. Fast Track is a separately sold figure that should be on shelves, but as of the time of this recording, I have yet to find an Earthrise version of Fast Track. Now, I know many of us have seen a gold-colored Fast Track available on Hasbro Pulse's website. That one is for the black. That one is intended to be the Black Zarek version. And that one's G1 counterpart was made of gold plastic. So, if you manage to have one of those originals that's still intact after all these years, take good care of it. Let's take a look here at Scorponok's articulation for a moment. We can turn the head from left to right, as it's on a special turntable that allows it to do that. The arms can be rotated at the shoulder, but you will have to shift the arm a bit to clear the pieces on the back. The arm can be raised out about that far. He does have a joint at the elbow, so he can bend his arm at the elbow 90 degrees. And he does have a swivel at the bicep. So he has G.I. Joe battle grip. And of course, the claw, both sides of the claws can be manipulated as well. Since he's going to be a pain to lift for me to do this on camera, you'll just have to take my word for this, folks. But you can see the hinges here on the sides of his legs, so he can spread his legs to do a full splits. He can also raise his leg up at the hip 90 degrees and bend his leg at the knee 90 degrees, giving him a wider range of articulation. Now we're going to take a look at some of Scorponok's loose pieces. He doesn't have the amount that the original toy did, but he does still have a fair amount. We'll start first with his shield. This is the shield in its complete form. Of course, the Generation 1 shield was basically the tower for his city mode. In this case, this is assembled. This part here is the actual shield itself, and it does feature some moving claws here. Whereas the lower sections, these are done up in chrome to pay homage to the G1 form's chrome pieces that were attached to the legs. These do separate. like so. So you have a left one and a right one. And if you buy Scorponok brand new, these pieces will be attached to these purple panels here on the sides of the leg. As you can see, there's multiple holes here, and these four that are here on the upper portion line up perfectly with the posts here on the lower leg, if I can line them up properly and do this one-handed. You see, that's where they would go in. So if you're buying brand new, that's where you will find that. Of course, speaking of buying him brand new, if you're buying brand new out of the box, this portion of the tail will be removed as a separate piece. Whoops, bumped the camera again. This portion here will be removed because it will be a separate piece, and it needs to be removed if you're going to store Scorponok in his box, because that's what will allow him to lie flat in the box. So do bear that in mind if you are going to store him or display him on a shelf or on your mantelpiece or somewheres. Now, Scorponok does have two guns. Here's one of them. They're both the same, so you don't really need to see both of them. And of course, these pay homage to the shoulder cannons that the original one had. The original came with 4, but this time around you only get 2. Hasbro's getting cheap on us now. Then, of course, also, we will have the head. Before we look at the head, I want to point out a separate piece. This is the neck support piece. As you saw, it just popped off very, very easily, and it will likely do that no matter what you do to try to keep it in there. So do bear that in mind, folks, especially if you're one that's buying this for a child. That's what this is for. It's just a support piece for the head, but it will come off very, very easily. I will point out as well that the panels here on the leg, those purple ones right there, these do also pop off with relative ease. So, I mean, while they will not pose a choking hazard, they may pose a hazard to your feet should you happen to step on one. So do be careful of that. Now, of course, we have the head. So the head does have a transformation mode, and we will show that here in a couple of minutes. But I do want to point out that the head also has further loose pieces in the form of the antenna. The antennae are removable. They are one and the same, so if you're buying one loose, you at least know that's what you're looking for. And then, of course, down here at the bottom is Zarek himself, Headmaster or Titan Master, however you want to refer to him. Zarek has limited articulation. You can pivot the head from side to side, and it does rock up and down on a ball joint. He can raise his arms up about so far. You can bend his leg at the hip 90 degrees, and he can bend at the knees 90 degrees. So, Zarek here doesn't have a whole lot going for him. But he pretty much has the same as his Generation 1 counterpart. As you can see, he's considerably smaller than his G1 counterpart. Of course, the G1 counterpart was basically puffed up to be filler for the head. Somebody's out blowing their horn for no reason. I should encourage you all to remember this is taped before Christmas. You're not actually seeing me doing this live on Christmas Day. Lastly, for pieces, Scorponok has some energy pieces. We got this big, wide, explosive one. We got one that's a little more narrow. And then you got a tip. Of course, all three of these can be combined, so that way, if you wish, you can plug it into one of the gun barrels to make it look like we are getting a discharge. Or you can plug it into one of the many numerous holes on Scorponok himself to look like he has received damage. But there you go, my friends. You have now seen all of the loose pieces of Scorponok. Okay, and now we have a decapitated transformer. I can imagine kids going nuts over that in a store. Alright, as I said earlier, the head does have an alternate mode, and we're going to show that to you right now. To transform him, first you would pop this purple plate up on the top of the head, and you're going to shift everything from the visor up, and it's going to come down. But before we do that, we'll have you take a look here, show you that Scorponok has green eyes under a red visor. I don't know what's the significance behind that, but I just thought I'd show you. You'll fold that up like that. Then we'll flip him over. I'm going to pop this tan panel loose so that we can unfold a set of legs out from underneath him. You'll take the panels the antenna are attached to, and you're going to shift them up and outward, like so. And then these purple edges you will fold down, and then fold out little fists at the end. Then you'll fold this panel back down. Then you're going to remove the orange antenna. And you'll take the slots that are sticking out of the base and you'll attach them to these holes alongside the larger robot face, like that. And then there you have another action figure. This is Mega Zarek, and I'm guessing it's meant to be an equivalent to Cerebros from Fortress Maximus, except that since it's a mega version of Zarek, it's pretty much just giving Zarek a bigger body to fight with. No, they also recommend you fold down these purple panels here at the sides. But it does give you a nice movable figure. So articulation-wise, he can turn his head from side to side. It does rock a little bit up and down, but not by a whole lot. The arms can raise up about so far. And they do rotate at the shoulder all the way. But that's when the orange antennae are not in the way. His arms do bend at the elbow. It has 2 elbow joints. Unfortunately, he does not have a... Nope, he does. He does have a swivel here at the bicep. So even Mega Zarek has G.I. Joe battle grip. You can spread his legs apart into almost a full splits. He can twist a little bit at the hips, but not by very much. You can raise his leg at the hip 90 degrees, and it can also bend at the knee, but at a significantly less degree. But you do get quite a range of motion. And with those holes in his fists, that means Zarek can likely hold a Battlemaster or a Micromaster weapon in his hands. So you get yourself a decent bonus figure out of this. Okay, we're going to get ready and transform Scorponok here. Now we're skipping the first three steps on the instructions because they basically involve removing the shield, removing the gray panels if you've got them on the legs, and removing the guns. So pretty much with all those loose pieces out of the way, your first step will be to take his arms and raise them upwards. Good, he doesn't touch the chandelier above him. And then, of course, you spread them out a little bit. Kind of like so. Just exactly like that, so that Scorponok is in an I surrender pose. Then you're going to take his head and you're going to rotate it 180 degrees. Just like that. And then you will also do the same thing with his torso here. So that you got him facing you just exactly like that. And we're going to pop the tail section free at the bottom and unfold all the panels so that it lays down like that. Then we get to reach in here and we pull out the scorpion legs. Just spread them out to the side. Then here's a gray panel that you'll bring down to kind of close him off. And also I should point out this panel does pop off very easily. Because when I was giving him a play test the other day, it did come off on me. Alright then, now we get to lay him down. Timber! Lay him down on the table. Adjust the camera here a bit so you guys can see him here. We're going to spend some time working on his legs here. Because I want you to bend the legs up a bit. Just a bit. So you can gain access to things. And make sure these panels here on his hips are laying flat. Then we're going to come back here to the feet. You swing up these purple panels on the side, and then you will be free to raise up the black panels. Reach around here and get the other one. And then what you're going to do is you are going to fold the feet into that gap right there. Just exactly like that. Then once the feet are folded in, you will close down the black panel. The purple one, just let it hang loose for the time being. Because you're going to then fold the legs up and down. They're also going to recommend you close the feet in as you do this. Just like that. Then once you've got them in, you're going to fold the purple panels down. This post here in the corner is going to connect to this hole in his upper leg. Just a matter of lining it up. Get the other one here on the other side. Sorry about the view. Alright, once you've done that, we're going to shift things so we work with the tail here. And they're showing you how to position the bea, how to position the hinges on the tail. But the most important thing you need to worry about for the tail is that these posts right here are to be connected into these special holes here, right where his knees were. Get that in, get that to connect, and the tail will be secured. Ladies and gentlemen, let's wrestle. You're going to feel like that having to work with this toy. There we go. That gets that snapped into place. Then we're going to work some more on the tail, so we'll slide him aside for a moment. Back here in the back. Now, for starters, you fold out this panel here. Run it down there. That way it gives you a way to push out and rotate this whole tail section out. Then the orange section further rotates upwards. Then it has a piece underneath it. There we go. That also folds out to form his stinger. And then, of course, you can come back to his legs and adjust the scorpion legs so they're touching the surface, like that. Then we attach the accessories to him. Like, for starters, the shield here connects to these holes here on the tail. So that locks it into place. The fake chrome pieces here get attached to these holes here on the front of the toy. Like that. And lastly, the guns will attach onto these central holes on the shoulder. I'm going to detach from the tripod here so I can get you a real good look here at the Scorpion mode. And as you can see, this thing is imposing. To say anything less of it is a disservice to this toy. This thing is massive. Now, I know some of you are going to be going, hey, Sparkster, let's see him with the G1 version. Well, let's get the Generation 1 version over here. You can take a look at it. As you can see, he's kind of a shrimpy compared to how this new one looks. And he's pretty massive. But as you all remember from the G1 days, for those of you that were lucky enough to be around for that, Scorponok also had a city mode. And we're going to do that here in just a moment. But first, we need to get some fresh batteries. Alright, now with some fresh batteries and a quick change for the other Scorponok, we are ready to transform this one into the city mode. Once again, we're skipping the first 3 steps as they involve the removal of the guns, the shield, and the gray panels. This time around, you're to remove another piece. The head. As you saw there, folks, the neck guard just came off with it. If that happens, you just Plug it right back in. As soon as you get the posts up high enough so that they go in the hole. So once again, folks, especially if you're planning on buying this for a child at some point, or maybe you did, I apologize for how long it took me to review this guy. Another casualty of COVID. Alright, now back to where we was. You're going to take the scorpion legs here. You're going to spread them out so they lay flat. Keep the ends curled up. This might have been easier to do without the tablecloth, but I'd be afraid he'd scratch this table. And if I scratch the table, I'm a dead man. Alright, at any rate, once you've done that, then we're going to fold up the stinger. Fold everything for the tail all the way back down. And get the ramp all completed, just exactly like that. And of course, pop it free, as I've already done. Then next we pop these purple panels free. Just like that. Because once those are free, we can bring the legs straight up. Like so. And then swivel them out to do a full splits. Just like that. Now, I recommend folding up these hinges here so they're not in our way. Because we're going to rotate the whole leg, not just at the thigh, the whole leg at the hip gets rotated downward, like that. Then you'll turn them up at the thigh, and then lay them out flat. Now, of course, they're going to lay out a little weird, so that way they're resting against the surface. Once you've done that, then you can fold the little flaps back down, just exactly like that. Then, I'm going to have you turn the camera, let's shift the camera a little bit here so we can see what we're doing here. Then you're going to take these, fold them down so the black panel rests against the leg and shows a green panel and leaves this purple one out like that. Show you the other side, just the tripod a bit so that I don't want that to start over. Alright, we'll just do this one-handed. There, like that. Just exactly like that. Then once you've done that, these large black panels here at the base of the foot, you may have to shift the foot out a little bit to get them free, but you can pop them out and then fold them over to become ramps. And as I'll show you here, the tips of these ramps will allow you to connect them to other Transformer toys to make a Transformer City, which we'll do at some point in the future. Today's not that day. Alright, and then next we're going to come back here to the tail. We're going to shift it upwards like so. You'll see there's a little purple protrusion right here. And this will connect into the hole here at the hip. We're not going to say what that hole is, so this is a family-friendly channel. And now we come to the arms. Raise the arms so they're straight up. You're going to want to make sure that the claws are all closed up. As they are. Get them so they're pointing straight up. And then rotate them so that the back of the claws faces you like that. There we go. Trying to find a happy medium here with them. And we ain't talking the amazing Creston. Alright. Now once you've done that, now we get to accessorize Scorponok here. You'll start by taking a gun. You'll get one of the silver panels. The two hole posts down here at the bottom will line up with the gun barrels. So you will insert them into it, just like that. And then you will take the big post here at the gun and you'll plug it into this hole way down here at the bottom. Of course, it also helps that the posts on the claw will also line up with the holes on the gun. So you will get a very secure connection, if I can get it to work here on camera. Worked so well the other day on rehearsal. There we go. And of course, I was also rehearsing with him in my easy chair. Talk about WrestleMania. Alright, there you go. Those are attached in. So once you've got them all in, of course, the instructions also suggest that the claws should be all the way back so that they fully attach. But I don't see no holes on there, so there's no way for those to fit fully attached. Then they want you to raise up this large silver panel here. Then you'll take the shield. You'll notice on the back of it, it has a couple of posts. You would just attach them in there like that to form the tower. And then you basically got your city mode already done, but there is one last feature. You can raise up this other gray panel, and the large cavity there is big enough to hide the head. So you would just drop the head in all the way, and then close it up. And then once again, it's time to go without the tripod so that you can get a look at the city mode. Now, of course, it's not as elaborate as the original one was. The original had some play features in on it. But this does give you plenty of room for your Micromasters, your Battle Masters, and even the deluxe class toys, because I do know that Fast Track is a deluxe class, and he will likely be able to roll down this main ramp here, just like on the original toy. Now, of course, speaking of the original, here it is in all its glory. The original had a lot of battle features for it, because, I mean, we had a couple of hidden missile launchers in there, and you got all these radar dishes that were hanging around. And plus, of course, we had this automatic launch ramp there for Fast Track. You just push the button, and down he went, and right onto the floor. Pick him up. Of course, you know, right over here we had a repair station. And over here we had a little elevator that was good for raising Micromasters or Headmaster figures. And that was basically all we got out of him. As you can also see, he's also considerably smaller. That Scorponok was built to be a standalone toy, whereas this Scorponok is meant to combine with others in the Earthrise line to form a Transformer City. Now, someday when I have myself a bigger studio with a little more room, I'm going to set up a Transformer City, and I'm going to show you all what it will look like. Okay, I got one bonus thing to show you all with these two, regarding these two, and then we'll get to my final thoughts. Now, here as a bonus treat, I wanted to remind all of you about the boxes that they came in. This one right here, this is the 1987 box from the original toy. So for those of you that are my age, you probably remember seeing this in the toy stores. Or if you were lucky, you actually saw it laying under your tree at Christmas. I managed to get lucky and acquire this box when I bought my Scorponok. But of course, I went through 4 Scorponoks to get one complete, so I was salvaging parts left, right, and sideways out of him. But yeah, this is how the original box would look on the store shelves. I'm not going to rotate it around, because if you want to see the full box, you can look at my original video for Scorponok, because I did have it then. But I just wanted to show it to you as an added treat, especially for those of you that are my age and you've got your children watching. The toy here, as you can see in there, it does look different from what you saw here of mine, due to the fact that this was likely the prototype of the toy that they used for the pictures. Not uncommon on many Hasbro-related toys, as I've seen a few examples from the few times that G.I. Joe reviewer Hooded Cobra Commander 788 has had the box for the vehicles. There have been slight changes from the one that's pictured to the final toy release. And then, of course, now we'll turn the camera here to the other side of the table, and we have the Earthrise box. And while it doesn't really showcase the toy all that much, it does put him in a rather wicked battle scene, where it looks like that he has taken Optimus Prime hostage, and Double Dealer is swooping in the background. We don't know what he's doing involved in this, but I guess we'll find out in our own imaginations. Of course, right here we got down the hallway, there's some other Transformers. They're a little too small to identify, but of course down in the bottom corner is the Ark. It's a rather impressive looking thing. It definitely gives more of the awesome vibe and power that Scorponok channels, and does a little bit better of a job than that did. Alright, so now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of the Earthrise Scorponok? Truth be told, I do like how this Scorponok turned out. I did have my doubts, but of the few of the Titan ones that I do have of modern Transformers, I have been reasonably impressed with how they have improved the original toys. That's not to say that the originals were bad. Not by a long shot. The originals were great in their own right. But to compare them with the modern ones is very difficult to do, as they all have their own thing going with them. The originals were more based on gimmicks, as they all had their own gimmicks and they had to work. This time around, they don't have a gimmick to go with them, so it is simply just a toy. But it does pay homage to the original in the right ways, and does come off as being more believable as the rival to Fortress Maximus. As, let's face it, the Generation 1 Scorponok was somewhat substantially smaller than Fortress Maximus. It was probably done more as a price gimmick to ensure that a child would at least get one of them. As I know, Fortress Maximus did cost over $100 back in the day, and Scorponok here was probably just under $100. He probably ranged between $90 and $100 back in the day. Unfortunately, that's not carried over on this one, as the Earthrise one, if you buy him at retail, will set you back $180. So, quite a difference in the price, but you do get a figure that does have a significant amount of articulation. The head mode, giving it the extra robot mode in between, does enhance the play value significantly. I could see having a lot more fun with this one as a child, having that extra robot to go along with it. The biggest downside on this one, of course, is that it doesn't have fast track. But since he doesn't have the gimmicky launch ramp like the original did, he really doesn't need fast track. The downside to it, though, is that since Fast Track in the new form can also become a weapon for Scorponok, that's kind of a loss. Fast Track really should have been released at the same time as Scorponok, so that way those of us G1 fans could have gotten both of them at roughly the same time. But that's a mistake on Hasbro's part, and we all know how well they've been doing during this pandemic, especially given how hard many of these toys have been to find, and the fact that of late, from what I've seen not just on my videos, but on other review videos, the quality control from the Earthrise line has been pretty terrible. But yes, my friends, if you'd like this version of Scorponok, I would say go for it. He's definitely worth the $180 that I paid for him. Now, if I only just had a spot to put him out on display. At any rate, that's my review of the Earthrise Scorponok. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please leave me a thumbs up here on YouTube. It's Christmas anyway. Leave me a thumbs up anyway. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button down below and join our ranks. Make sure you ring the bell so you'll be notified when we post new content. I also ask that you share this video with your friends and fellow collectors. That's what helps this channel grow. And leave your thoughts on Scorponok in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I've got no plans yet set for what I'm going to do next year for the Transformers, because we still have a fair amount of Earthrise to cover when they actually get released. And we also got Kingdom to look forward to next year. And I got some changes that are coming for the channel next year, so we're kind of going to be winging things next year. But anyways, I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa if you celebrate that. I'm sorry we missed Hanukkah this year. But however you celebrate this holiday, as I always say, celebrate it with someone you love. I thank you all for your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next year. Till then, I'll catch you all later.